The boy who dreamed in gadgets. Timmy Tinker hummed a tuneless melody, his tongue peeking out from the corner of his mouth as he tinkered. Empty plastic bottles, scavenged wires, and a small solar panel lay scattered across the workbench in his attic sanctuary. He'd been up here for hours, the afternoon sun slanting through the dusty window panes, illuminating motes of sawdust dancing in the air. Finally, with a triumphant grin, he connected the last wire to a miniature pump. "Eureka!" he whispered, though there was no one to hear. It was a self-watering plant pot. Simple, really. A reservoir of water fed by a small, solar-powered pump that dripped moisture into the soil based on sunlight exposure. Perfect for his mother's notoriously neglected orchids. He carefully transplanted one of the orchids, its wilting leaves a testament to her lack of green thumb, into his invention. The pump whirred quietly, a tiny trickle of water coaxing life back into the parched soil. Beaming, Timmy carried his creation downstairs. The aroma of pot roast, undoubtedly prepared by Mrs. Blacken Higgins, the housekeeper, wafted from the kitchen, but Timmy headed straight for the living room. His parents, Bartholomew and Penelope, were perched on the plush, velvet sofas, bathed in the cool glow of the television. Brenda, his older sister, was meticulously painting her nails a shade of shimmering rose gold. "Look what I made," Timmy announced, holding up the pot. Bartholomew didn't even glance up from the financial news. "That's nice, dear. Now, can you see about turning down the volume? I'm trying to follow the market report." Penelope, ever the socialite, wrinkled her nose. "Darling, is that plastic? You know how I feel about plastic. It's so common." Brenda, however, paused her manicure, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arching in disdain. "Ew, Timmy, what is that monstrosity? Did you make that out of garbage?" Timmy's smile faltered. "It's not garbage. It's a self-watering plant pot. It uses solar power. It's eco-friendly." He hated how his voice wavered when he was nervous. Brenda snorted. "Eco-friendly? Please. As if anyone cares about eco-friendly when they can afford real flowers, you know, from a florist." She waved a dismissive hand, the rose gold polish glinting under the chandelier. "Speaking of which, Daddy just got me the most amazing dress from Milan. You wouldn't understand, Timmy. It's designer." She stood, pirouetting to show off the garment draped over the nearby chaise lounge. It was a confection of silk and lace, shimmering emerald green with delicate beaded embellishments. The price tag, Timmy noticed with a sinking feeling, likely exceeded the value of everything in his attic workshop combined. "It costs more than your entire collection of junk," Brenda said, a triumphant smirk playing on her lips. Timmy's shoulders slumped. He placed the self-watering pot on a nearby table, the silence amplifying the gentle whir of the pump. "I just thought, Mom's orchids are always dying." Penelope sighed dramatically. "Darling, Mrs. Higgins is perfectly capable of watering the plants. Besides, I've been thinking of redecorating. Maybe we should just replace them with something artificial, so much easier to maintain." Timmy mumbled an excuse and retreated, the sting of their indifference burning in his chest. He trudged back up to his attic, the discarded plastic bottles now seeming less like treasures and more like garbage. He hated that they never understood. He wasn't trying to be weird or difficult. He just wanted to create things, to solve problems, to make the world a little better, one gadget at a time. He slammed the attic door shut, the sound muffled by the piles of discarded circuit boards and disassembled toys. He crossed to his desk, a rickety affair constructed from salvaged wood, and pulled out his secret notebook. Its pages were filled with sketches, diagrams, and equations, a testament to his boundless imagination. Tonight, he was working on the flying bicycle, not just any flying bicycle, mind you. This one would be powered by pedals and a small, lightweight electric motor fueled by solar panels integrated into the wings. It would be silent, efficient, and most importantly, it would allow anyone to soar above the gridlock and the noise to experience the world from a completely new perspective. He sketched furiously, refining the wing design, tweaking the motor specifications. He imagined himself soaring above the city, the wind in his hair, the world spread out beneath him like a tapestry. He'd fly over their mansion, a silent, feathered shadow against the manicured lawns and sparkling swimming pool. He would show them. One day, he would show them all. But the initial enthusiasm waned as he started to focus on the technical challenges, and the lack of support and encouragement from his family gnawed at him again. A tear escaped and splashed on the blueprint, causing the ink to bleed. Timmy sighed and wiped it away with the sleeve of his well-worn jumper. He closed the notebook, the dream of flight momentarily grounded by the weight of reality, the sparkly sniffles. Timmy woke with a sneeze that shook the room. Not just any sneeze, but an explosion of shimmering silver glitter. It coated his pillow, clung to his eyelashes, and sparkled on the worn dinosaur wallpaper his parents had refused to replace. He sat up, coughing, more glitter erupting with each hacking breath. He felt awful, achy, feverish, and strangely sparkly. He stumbled into the bathroom, blinking. His reflection stared back, a pale face dusted with an ethereal sheen. Another sneeze and a fresh wave of glitter filled the small space. He blew his nose. The tissue emerged, crusted with silver. This was definitely not a normal cold. He padded down the hallway to his mother's room, leaving a glittering trail in his wake. Brenda was already awake, meticulously applying mascara in front of her illuminated vanity mirror. The air hung thick with the scent of expensive perfume and hairspray. "Mom?" Timmy croaked, his voice raspy. Brenda turned, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arching in disdain. "Timmy, what in the world? You're covered in glitter. Did you raid my craft supplies again? You know how much that imported shimmer dust costs?" Another sneeze punctuated his reply. I don't feel good, Mom. I think I'm sick." Brenda scrutinized him, wrinkling her nose. "Honestly, Timmy, you look ridiculous, like some kind of glitter goblin. Probably just rich kid flu. Too much screen time and organic juice. Go take a shower and try not to get glitter everywhere." She returned to her mascara, dismissing him with a wave of her hand. Timmy shuffled to the kitchen, hoping his father might be more sympathetic. He found him pacing near the breakfast bar, phone glued to his ear, gesturing wildly. His father was a whirlwind of power suits and frantic energy, even before his morning coffee. Yes, I understand the quarterly reports are crucial, but the merger with Stellaris is paramount. We need to finalize the acquisition before, hold on a second." He glanced at Timmy, his brow furrowing in annoyance. "What is it, Timmy? Can't you see I'm on a very important call?" I don't feel well, Dad. I think I have a fever." Timmy mumbled, clutching his stomach. He sneezed again, showering the polished granite countertop with silver dust. His father flinched. "Good heavens, Timmy, go away. You're getting glitter all over my phone. I can't deal with this right now. Ask the housekeeper for some orange juice. And try not to breathe on anything valuable." He turned his back, resuming his conversation. "As I was saying, the strategic synergy." Timmy stood there for a moment, the sting of their indifference sharper than the ache in his head. They didn't see him. They saw only the glitter, the inconvenience, the disruption to their perfectly curated lives. He was an afterthought, a shimmering annoyance. He retreated to his room, the silence amplifying the throbbing in his head. He lay back on his glitter-dusted pillow, pulling the covers up to his chin. He felt utterly alone. Even his inventions, usually a source of comfort, seemed dull and lifeless. The self-watering orchid pot sat silently on his windowsill, the orchids vibrant and healthy, a stark contrast to his own miserable state. He closed his eyes and a single tear traced a glittering path down his cheek. He wasn't just sick, he was invisible. He was a shimmering ghost in his own home, unnoticed and unloved. He drifted into a fitful sleep, his dreams filled with swirling glitter and distant muffled voices that didn't care. He dreamt of leaving, of finding a place where his sparkle, even when it was caused by illness, would be seen as something more than just a mess to be cleaned up. Scooter of dreams. The faint glitter sheen coughed from Timmy's lungs still lingered in the dawn's first light, a spectral dust moting at the periphery of his vision. He ignored it, fixated on the day ahead and the grand design he'd conceived. First, reconnaissance. He descended the stairs, each board underfoot emitting a low, complaining creak. Brenda was already entrenched in a conference call, her voice a honed blade as she haggled over advertising. Richard, his father, was conspicuously absent, likely lost in the intricate web of his firm's financial projections. Ideal. The garage beckoned. Richard, in a rare burst of paternal aspiration, had amassed a hoard of tools and timber for a bonding experience that never transpired. Timmy had been relegated to observer. Now, the domain was his. He sifted through cast-off boxes, the air redolent with sawdust and the ghosts of unrealized projects. A defunct lawnmower engine, its metal skin flaked with rust but radiating potential, peered out from beneath a tangle of garden hoses. Yes. And there, nestled behind a forgotten stack of pavers, sat mismatched wheels pilfered from a derelict go-kart. A windfall. Over the ensuing days, Timmy morphed into a creature of the night. By day, he endured his parents' casual disregard, the glittering after-effects of his coughs earning him nothing beyond glares of annoyance. By night, the garage became his refuge. He meticulously dismantled the lawnmower engine, his nimble fingers exhibiting an unexpected dexterity as he cleaned and lubricated each component. He devoured texts on solar power, his mind eagerly absorbing knowledge on photovoltaic principles and energy conversion. He filled a worn notebook with sketches, blueprints for a vehicle that existed solely within the confines of his imagination. His scooter would transcend mere transportation. It would become a statement, a declaration of independence against the prevailing drabness of his existence. He envisioned a sleek, efficient solar panel integrated into the handlebars, harnessing sunlight to energize the electric motor he was determined to cobble together. The frame, fashioned from lightweight yet robust aluminum liberated from a deconstructed patio umbrella, would sport a coat of bold, defiant blue. But the details were where his creation truly shone. A small, insulated compartment near the seat would house a personal snack cache, brimming with energy bars and dried fruit. A flexible arm extending from the handlebars would cradle a book, allowing him to immerse himself in tales while traversing the world. A clandestine compartment concealed beneath the seat would hold a map, a compass, and a cherished, dog-eared copy of The Hobbit. Where would he venture? The destination remained elusive. Somewhere his coughs would not be met with thinly veiled distaste. Somewhere the sunlight possessed a greater intensity, the air a more fragrant sweetness. Somewhere he would register on the world's radar. Perhaps the coast, where waves crashed against the shore in a vibrant, chaotic ballet. Or perhaps the mountains, where the air thinned and sharpened, and the stars ignited with a brilliance unseen in the city. He labored tirelessly, propelled by a potent mixture of isolation and resolve. The scooter began to materialize, a skeletal framework of metal and wire gradually coalescing into a chariot of escape. Each salvaged piece, each meticulously crafted component, stood as a testament to his inner strength, a tangible representation of his aspirations. One evening, while coaxing wires together with a soldering iron in the garage's muted light, Timmy paused, his brow etched with concentration. He visualized himself gliding along a sunlit road, the wind playing through his hair, the soft hum of the electric motor a comforting drone. He imagined the expressions of those he encountered, their eyes widening with intrigue, perhaps even admiration. A wave of uncertainty threatened to engulf him. What if it failed? What if his parents discovered his project and dismissed it with ridicule? What if, even with his magnificent scooter, he remained unseen? He banished the doubt. He had to persevere. He owed it to himself. He grasped his soldering iron, its tip glowing with fierce intensity. The scooter of his dreams awaited its completion. The great escape. The final bolt clicked home, a satisfying punctuation mark. Timmy wiped a smudge of grease across the scooter's azure shell, a skin born from months of furtive labor. It was real. Energy drawn from lukewarm coffee, stolen from his parents' never-empty pot, and the insistent ache in his soul had forged this, the sun chaser. He circled it, his lungs tight. The solar panels, culled from a derelict satellite dish his dad had long promised to discard, shimmered under the stark garage lights. Wheels, lifted from an abandoned shopping cart, spun with newfound grace. Bizarre, exquisite, a knot of doubt, a familiar parasite, began to burrow. Failure loomed, a crash, ridicule, oblivion. He shoved the fear back, a sharp wave of purpose solidifying his resolve. He had to know. He owed himself that much. From a dusty box he retrieved his earlier works. The self-regulating planter, the miniature weather station, the automatic pet feeder, testament that he was more than just the boy perpetually lost in coughs and shadows. These he nestled into a repurposed milk crate, securing them tight. His notebook, crammed with schematics and equations, went in last, a well-worn talisman. The garage pressed in, a chilly vault. He eyed the door to the house, a pang of anxiety twisting his gut. He should explain, say goodbye, but the words remained locked inside. He pictured their responses, his mother's preoccupied frown, his father's booming, if loving, dismissal. They wouldn't grasp it, they never had. A scrap of paper and a pen materialized from behind a toolbox. His hand shook as he wrote, the words of vulnerable supplication. Dearest Mom and Dad, I'm sorry I'm a disappointment. I know my health is a burden and I make mistakes, but I'm trying, truly. I built this scooter to prove I could achieve something special. I need to discover where I truly belong, where my potential will be recognized. I'll return, I promise. Please, miss me a little, and perhaps, just perhaps, see me for who I am. He folded the note with care and leaned it against his mother's ceramic feline on the workbench, a silent offering to the gods of understanding. The garage door rasped open, drenching the scooter in the milky light of dawn. He inhaled deeply, the tang of motor oil mingling with the faint scent of his mother's lavender sachet. He swung a leg over the sun, chaser, his pulse a frantic drumbeat. This was it, no turning back now. The engine choked, sputtered, then took hold with a surprising roar, filling the space with a powerful thrum. He tightened his grip on the handlebars, knuckles bone white. He released the brake. The scooter leaped forward, scattering pebbles. He steered down the driveway, the cool morning air lashing at his skin. As he hit the road, the sun crested the horizon, painting the sky with fiery hues. The solar panels embraced the light, the scooter accelerating. He dared a glance back at the house. Still dark, still silent, no witnesses. A lone tear streaked down his face, erased by the wind. He faced the rising sun, a tentative smile gracing his lips. The sun chaser vibrated beneath him, a promise of escape, of independence, of finding his place in the world. He was leaving behind the gloom, hurtling toward the dawn. He had a feeling this journey would stretch far beyond the horizon. Welcome to Innovationville. The sun chaser hiccuped, choked, then breathed its last as the road topped a gentle rise. Timmy's shoulders slumped. Obsessed with the receding horizon and the promise of escape, he'd neglected the dwindling charge. Now, steeped in the sunset's apricot hues, he was marooned. He nudged a tire with his shoe, a futile gesture fueled by frustration. As twilight thickened, a sight he'd previously missed materialized. A collection of buildings nestled in the valley, each illuminated by a peculiar assortment of radiant colors. It possessed a certain whimsical charm. One structure boasted a weather vane shaped like a soaring spacecraft. Another was crowned with a quartet of actively spinning windmills, and still another appeared constructed almost entirely from recycled rubber. Curiosity, a far superior propellant than solar energy at this juncture, spurred him onward as he steered the silent Sunday chaser down the incline. As he approached, a sign, ingeniously fashioned from repurposed circuit boards, glinted in the fading light. Innovationville, where imagination takes root. The town was even more remarkable up close. Gadgets ticked and whirred, steam puffed from unseen conduits, and a subtle, persistent, energetic thrum permeated the air. Residents moved with purpose, their faces glowing with enthusiasm. One woman, goggles perched on her brow, was engaged in a comical struggle with a robot attempting a complex orange juggling routine. A distinguished gentleman with a meticulously groomed mustache fastidiously polished a winged unicycle. Before Timmy could fully process the tableau, a woman with a vibrant mane of auburn hair and a smile that rivaled the town's luminosity skipped up to him. Dressed in a gear-festooned dress and brandishing a clipboard overflowing with documents, she greeted him, her voice effervescent with delight. "Well, hello there, young inventor," she declared. "Welcome to Innovationville. I'm Mayor Mildred Merriment, and you are—" "Timmy," he mumbled, a sudden wave of shyness washing over him. "Timmy Tinker." Mayor Mildred clapped her hands together with glee. "Timmy Tinker, what an absolutely splendid name, and what brings you and your marvelous contraption to our humble little town?" She gestured toward the sun chaser with a dramatic sweep of her hand. Timmy hesitated, unsure how to voice his desperate getaway. My scooter ran out of juice," he offered lamely. Mayor Mildred dismissed the problem with a wave of her hand. "A mere trifle, easily rectified. But tell me, Timmy Tinker, what fascinating innovations do you occupy yourself with?" Her eyes sparkled with authentic inquisitiveness. He stammered, I just build things. Mostly things my parents don't get." A booming laugh erupted from Mayor Mildred, resonating across the square. "Ah, parents, a perpetual enigma. Worry not, Timmy. Understanding is our forte here. Come, allow me to show you around." She guided him through the town square, showcasing various oddities and introducing him to their creators. There was Professor Penelope diligently perfecting a self-folding laundry automaton, and Bartholomew Buttons fine-tuning a headpiece capable of forecasting the atmospheric conditions. Each inventor greeted Timmy with genuine interest and warmth, showering him with inquiries regarding his Sunday chaser and other inventions. He noticed a group of children collaborating on a miniature hot air balloon powered by photovoltaic panels, their faces adorned with streaks of paint and grime. They gazed up as he walked by, their eyes wide with admiration. One of them, a girl with braided pigtails, exclaimed, "Cool, Scooter! Did you make that yourself?" Emboldened by the town's welcoming atmosphere, Timmy found himself actually smiling. "Yeah," he affirmed, his voice gaining steadiness. "I did." Mayor Mildred halted before a towering structure of glass and steel, its windows reflecting the fading sunlight. "This, Timmy, is the Innovation Hub. It houses our communal workshops and laboratories. You're welcome to utilize any of the equipment at any time." Inside, the hub throbbed with vibrant activity. 3D printers whirred, soldering irons spat sparks, and gears spun in a symphony of creation. Individuals of all ages worked side by side, collaborating on projects, exchanging ideas, and offering encouragement. Timmy stood at the threshold, awestruck. He'd never encountered anything like it. It was a place where ingenuity wasn't just tolerated, it was celebrated. A place where being different wasn't a detriment, it was an advantage. A place where his inventions wouldn't be met with bewildered gazes and dismissive remarks, but with sincere fascination and appreciation. He turned to Mayor Mildred, his eyes reflecting a newfound hope. "This place, it's incredible," he whispered. Mayor Mildred beamed. "We think so too, Timmy. We believe that everyone harbors the potential to create something extraordinary, and we're here to support them in doing just that. Welcome home, Timmy Tinker. Welcome home." For the first time in his life, Timmy experienced a profound sense of belonging, a feeling of acceptance, a conviction that perhaps, just perhaps, he had at long last discovered a place where he truly fit in. He was still Timmy Tinker, the boy who built things, the boy who often felt out of sync. But here, in Innovationville, being Timmy Tinker was a good thing. It was something to be embraced. Timmy's workshop. Mayor Mildred, her spectacles perched precariously on her nose, clapped her hands together, the sound echoing through the town square. "Now, Timmy, dear boy, show us what you've brought. Innovationville is simply bursting with curiosity." Timmy, still a little overwhelmed by the sheer enthusiasm of the townspeople, took a deep breath. "Well," he began, adjusting the strap of his backpack, "I have a few things I made." First, he unveiled the Trashinator 3000, a small, boxy robot with oversized wheels and a grabber arm fashioned from repurposed garden tools. With a few clicks of a remote, the Trashinator whirred to life, its optical sensors glowing a soft blue. It trundled across the cobblestones, deftly scooping up stray leaves and a discarded apple core, depositing them into its onboard compactor. The crowd gasped and cheered. "Ingenious!" exclaimed a woman with springs for pigtails, scribbling furiously in a notepad. "The applications are endless." Next, Timmy presented his Nutramatic 5000, a vending machine that dispensed healthy snacks based on personalized dietary needs. He explained how it scanned a person's biosignatures and dispensed a custom blend of fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Mayor Mildred, her eyes twinkling, volunteered as the first test subject. The machine hummed, whirred, and then deposited a small cup filled with a vibrant mix of blueberries, kale chips, and sunflower seeds. "Delicious," Mildred declared, popping a kale chip into her mouth. "And surprisingly, informative. It seems I need more vitamin K." But the invention that truly captivated the residents of Innovationville was the Animal Communicator 9000. A headset with a series of antennae and blinking lights, it translated animal vocalizations into human language. Timmy carefully placed the headset on his head, adjusted the microphone, and turned to a nearby oak tree. A squirrel, perched on a branch, chattered inquisitively. "Hello?" Timmy said tentatively into the microphone. A voice crackled through the headset, high-pitched and squeaky. "Who's there? You got nuts? I need nuts. Winter's coming, you know." Timmy blinked. Hi. My name is Timmy. And no, I don't have any nuts right now." The squirrel chattered again, a string of indignant squeaks. The headset translated. "No nuts? What kind of weirdo doesn't carry nuts? Go away then. You're wasting my time." The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. Even the spring-haired woman was beaming. Timmy removed the headset, a wide grin spreading across his face. He had never felt so understood, so appreciated. "Magnificent!" Mayor Mildred exclaimed, wiping a tear from her eye. "Absolutely magnificent. Timmy, my boy, you have a true gift." "Now," she continued, clapping her hands again, "all this inventing requires a proper workshop. Wouldn't you agree?" The townspeople murmured in agreement, their eyes gleaming with excitement. And so, the construction began. Led by a retired architect with a penchant for geodesic domes and a team of engineers who communicated primarily through interpretive dance, the citizens of Innovationville set about building Timmy Tinker his very own workshop. The building rose with remarkable speed. A foundation was laid with reclaimed bricks. Walls were constructed from salvaged wood and recycled plastic, and a solar panel roof was installed to power all of Timmy's inventions. The retired architect oversaw the project, sketching blueprints on napkins and shouting instructions through a megaphone powered by a bicycle. The interpretive dancing engineers translated his visions into precise measurements and structural supports. Even the squirrel, apparently forgiving of Timmy's initial nutlessness, contributed by gathering small twigs and leaves to insulate the walls. Within days, a magnificent workshop stood proudly on the edge of the town square. It was a testament to the ingenuity and community spirit of Innovationville. Inside, workbenches were arranged with precision, tools hung neatly on the walls, and a complex network of wires and circuits snaked across the ceiling. Timmy stood in the doorway, gazing at his new workshop with awe. He had never had a space like this before, a place where he could create, experiment, and let his imagination run wild. He turned to Mayor Mildred, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you all." Mildred beamed. "Nonsense, Timmy. This is just the beginning. Now, let's get to inventing." The missing fortune. The acrid tang of scorched bread typically signaled the dawn in Brenda Bling's world. This morning, however, it was punctuated by an unsettling quietude, broken only by the staccato rhythm of her elongated artificial nails tapping against the cool marble. "Where is that boy?" she trilled, the question echoing in the vast, sterile kitchen, directed more at the emptiness than her preoccupied spouse. Reginald, nose buried in his phone, was likely monitoring the volatile stocks of some ethically dubious venture. A grunt was his only acknowledgement, his gaze glued to the screen. Brenda exhaled sharply, a puff of discontent. Honestly, Reginald, a simple good morning wouldn't shatter the bank. She filled a mug with tepid coffee, her face contorting at the absence of a frothy head. And where's my organic almond milk? That's when she spotted the folded scrap of paper leaning against the sugar bowl. Timmy's sprawling handwriting was instantly recognizable, her meticulously shaped brows knitted together. Timmy didn't do notes. He usually communicated through monosyllabic replies and the occasional eye roll when tasked with domestic chores. She snatched up the message, the polished surfaces of her nails gleaming in the morning light. Gone to find somewhere I belong, I'd peoply estate. She read, the words laced with confusion. Taking the sun chaser, don't worry about me. Finally, Reginald looked up, an expression of irritation creasing his forehead. Sunday chaser? What in blazes is a Sunday chaser? Some newfangled game? Brenda reread the missive, a brief flash of maternal concern quickly overtaken by a calculating light. It's that scooter project he's been tinkering with. You know, the solar-powered thingamajig? Reginald's eyes popped. Solar-powered? You mean that monstrosity cluttering the garage actually works? He catapulted to his feet, nearly sending his diamond-studded mug crashing to the floor. Brenda, do you grasp the implications? We could patent that. Renewable energy is the future. Brenda, ever drawn to the promise of riches, wrested the note from Reginald's fingers. And what about that? Trashinator gizmo he built for the municipality? They paid him for that, Reginald. Real money. Alarm bells now resounded within her. They'd been so consumed by their own pursuits, they'd entirely disregarded Timmy's potentially lucrative hobbies. An urgency seized them both. They bolted towards the garage, the hub of Timmy's secretive projects. It was, characteristically, a disarray of cables, cogs, and unfinished creations. The sun chaser was absent, the spot where it usually resided now conspicuously bare. He really left, Brenda breathed, a hint of fear? Or was it merely the dread of squandered income? Reginald, already tapping furiously on his phone, snapped, "Locate him, track him down. He couldn't have gotten far on that souped-up lawnmower." Brenda's perfectly maintained fingers danced across her tablet. "Hold on, remember that ridiculous social media account he set up for the scooter? Sun Chaser Adventures or something equally absurd?" She scrolled through the feed, her eyes widening in surprise. "He's been posting. Look, snapshots of the road, brief video clips, he's heading west, and check out the comments. People are actually following him." They crowded together, analyzing the posts. Each upload revealed a bit more of Timmy's trajectory, a digital Hansel and Gretel trail leading away from their luxurious yet emotionally sterile residence. Reginald, his face flushed with a blend of avarice and something else, a flicker of paternal instinct, turned to Brenda. "We need to find him, Brenda. Not only for the inventions, but because he's our son." He sounded almost sincere. For the first time in years, Brenda perceived a shadow of the man she had fallen for, the man who hadn't been completely devoured by the relentless pursuit of wealth. A faint quiver disturbed Brenda's glossy lips. She placed a hand on Reginald's arm. "We will, Reginald, and when we do, we'll be different. We'll start listening. We'll nurture his passions." Reginald nodded, a renewed resolve hardening his features. "We promise each other, Brenda. We find Timmy, and we genuinely try to parent. No more neglect, no more dismissing his interests." Brenda squeezed his arm, a solitary, flawless tear trickling down her cheek. Whether it was a genuine display of remorse or a calculated move for Reginald's benefit remained ambiguous. "We'll find him, Reginald, and we'll bring him home." She paused, a spark of the old Brenda flickering to life. "And then we secure the patents." Professor Sparkle's grand entrance. The Sun Chaser coughed its last breath mere feet from Innovationville's welcome sign, a colossal, burnished gear wheel forever in motion. Timmy deflated, jiggling a frayed connection. He'd wrung every last volt from the scooter, desperate to outrun the persistent worry that his folks might actually be searching. He longed for the solar engine's hum, the caress of the wind. Yet a tentative bud of tranquility unfurled within him, his first since bolting. Innovationville hummed with a resonance that felt right. Mayor Mildred Merriment, a woman whose sunny disposition rivaled the town's solar array, hurried over. "Broke down, Timmy?" she called, her voice as bright as the gleaming catches on her coat. "Need a hand getting started?" Timmy's cheeks warmed, his anxieties momentarily receding. "Just a little stutter, Mayor. Pretty sure I can coax it back to life." As he fiddled, his gaze strayed back the way he'd traveled. A flash of reflected sunlight on polished metal. An all-too-familiar boxy form. His parents' preposterous land yacht. Panic bloomed in his chest. They couldn't discover him here. Not now. Not before he'd truly found his place. "Mayor Merriment," he asked, his voice cracking slightly, "do you by any chance have any extra eyeglasses kicking around and maybe a false mustache?" Mildred, ever accommodating, didn't bat an eye. "Spectacles? Whiskers? Innovationville is practically overflowing with discarded accoutrements, Timmy. Come along." She ushered him toward a cramped shed crammed with cast-off inventions and theatrical odds and ends. In mere minutes, Timmy brandished a pair of enormous kaleidoscopic specs and a stick-on mustache that prickled his upper lip. It was ludicrously oversized and askew, but it would have to suffice. He studied his reflection in a tarnished hubcap, Professor Sparkle ready for his debut. Ahem. He cleared his throat, attempting an outlandish accent, a mishmash of Transylvanian and something vaguely Nordic. "Guten Tag. I am Professor Sparkle, celebrated creator of all things that shimmer." Mildred giggled. "Professor Sparkle, is it? Well, Professor, welcome to Innovationville. I imagine you'll be demonstrating your sparkly wares at the Inventors Extravaganza next week?" "Undoubtedly. Timmy, rather," Professor Sparkle proclaimed, swelling his chest. "I possess a device that transforms melancholy into shimmering dust. An apparatus that composes sonatas inspired by the scent of warm bread, and a self-folding laundry mechanism fueled by interpretive dance." He cringed inwardly. He was hamming it up, but the limousine was closing in. He needed to sell this. He risked a peek around the shed. His parents' vehicular behemoth now dominated the entrance to Innovationville. Reginald was already unfolding his gangly frame from the passenger seat, wearing a look of utter bewilderment. Brenda, draped in a fur stole that felt jarringly out of place, emerged with a delicate sniff of disapproval. This was it. Showtime. "Mayor Merriment," Professor Sparkle declared, seizing her arm with theatrical flair, "I believe we have guests. Let us extend to them the most effusive Innovationville greeting." He marched toward his parents, his ridiculous mustache trembling with each stride. He prayed they wouldn't recognize him. He hoped his accent would throw them off. He hoped his heart wouldn't detonate in his ribcage. "Salutations, wayfarers." He bellowed, his voice a strange melange of inflections. "Welcome to Innovationville. I am Professor Sparkle, your official docent and champion of all things groundbreaking." He gestured expansively at the cogwheel sign. "Prepare to be dazzled." Reginald peered at him, a glimmer of something that might have been recognition or simply dumbfoundedness in his gaze. Brenda simply curled her lip. "We're looking for our son," Reginald stated, his voice devoid of inflection. "Timmy Tinker. Have you encountered him?" Professor Sparkle clutched his chest for dramatic effect. "Timmy Tinker? Alas, the name is unfamiliar. But fear not, for Innovationville is a sanctuary for all. Perhaps young Timmy is metamorphosing, reimagining his very being, just as I, Professor Sparkle, transmute breakfast each morn with my proprietary cereal flavor-altering device." Brenda's eyes rolled skyward. "We don't have time for this nonsense. We simply want our son." "Nonsense?" Professor Sparkle gasped, his voice fracturing slightly. "Madam, innovation is never nonsense. It is the engine of advancement. Now come, allow me to unveil the marvels of Innovationville. We boast a robot that serenades pigeons with verse." a gravity-defying botanical garden, and a chap who professes to have perfected a noiseless vacuum cleaner, though I suspect he simply excels at prolonged breath-holding. He grasped Brenda's arm, pulling her along. Reginald, looking increasingly perplexed, shuffled behind. Timmy, masquerading as Professor Sparkle, was leading his parents into the very heart of Innovationville, intent on imparting a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. He only hoped he could sustain the charade long enough to deliver it. A fortune for friendship. Ta-da! Professor Sparkle presented his self-folding laundry system, a marvel of gears and articulated limbs neatly bundling a stack of vibrant linens. Brenda Bling's gaze, however, held no appreciation, only raw avarice. "Picture the margins, Reginald," she breathed, jabbing her husband's ribs. Reginald, usually a monument to ennui, actually displayed animation, already lost in a calculus of production costs and sticker prices. Hidden beneath layers of grease paint and a ludicrous wig, Timmy felt a familiar sting, a blend of distaste and letdown he desperately tried to escape. He ushered them onward toward the next curious creation, a composting toilet serenading its users with operatic arias. Presenting the pooperatic performer, Professor Sparkle proclaimed, his voice muffled by wads of cotton. "Eco-friendly and culturally uplifting," Brenda's lip curled. "Opera while doing that." "For the discerning eco-citizen," Timmy parried, straining to maintain his flamboyant persona. He guided them through Innovationville's Lilliputian wonders, self-irrigating planters, crooning horticultural advice, solar lamps shaped like colossal dandelions, and a robotic canine companion dispensing juicy neighborhood gossip in uncanny imitation of local gossips. Reginald, utterly engrossed in the chatty dog walker, scribbled furiously in his notepad. "Patent that algorithm," he muttered. "Pure gold." Eventually, they returned to Mayor Merriman's office, temporarily repurposed as Professor Sparkle's laboratory. The mayor, ever supportive, stood ready with a tray of suspiciously verdant lemonade. "Professor," Brenda purred, a thick coating of saccharine sincerity in her tone, "Reginald and we've misjudged everything. You're a prodigy, a true visionary. We need you back. Imagine the resources, a fully equipped lab, state-of-the-art tools." Reginald bobbed his head with uncommon enthusiasm. "We'll even let you design the house. Anything your heart desires." Timmy, still masked as Professor Sparkle, felt a tightening in his chest. These were the words he'd longed to hear, yet they resonated with falseness. He glanced around at the mismatched decor, the shelves brimming with spare parts, Mayor Merriman's warm, encouraging expression. This was his sanctuary now. He inhaled deeply. "I appreciate the sentiment," he announced, his voice muffled and oddly tinny. "But my place is here. I've found my fulfillment, my community." Brenda's sugary smile curdled slightly. "But we're your real family." "Are you?" Timmy countered, the cotton muffling his words into a strangled squeak. He yanked off the garish wig, releasing his own mousy brown hair. He peeled back the fake mustache and scrubbed off the theatrical makeup. The transformation was quick, absolute. Brenda and Reginald gasped. Mayor Merriman, bless her heart, simply offered a gentle squeeze of his shoulder. "Timmy?" Brenda breathed, her voice threaded with disbelief. "Yes, Mom," Timmy affirmed, his voice steady and clear, finally devoid of pretense. "It's me." The ensuing silence was a palpable weight. Reginald's notepad slipped from his nerveless fingers, landing on the floor with a quiet plop. Timmy continued, his gaze unwavering. "I know you came here seeking my inventions, hoping to capitalize on them, to amass wealth, but I've decided what to do with my inventions." He paused, allowing his words to settle. His gaze swept over the faces of Innovationville's residents, peering in through the windows, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and concern. "I'm bequeathing everything to Innovationville," he declared. "Every patent, every design, every single cent. It will be used to promote ingenuity, to uplift the community, and to better the world. This town saw potential in me when no one else did." Brenda gaped at him, dumbfounded. You can't do that. It's our inheritance." "You forfeited that," Timmy stated, his tone firm. "You prioritize profit over people. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a town to serve." He turned his back on his parents and walked toward the assembled crowd, Mayor Merriment at his side. He could feel their gazes upon him, burning with a mixture of resentment and, was that remorse? He didn't look back. He had discovered his true family, and they awaited him. His life had truly begun at last. Home is where the heart is. The limousine, a chrome whale against Innovationville's vibrant skyline, exhaled exhaust. Brenda Bling, her composure a brittle facade, dabbed at tearless eyes with silk. Beside her, Barry Bling, whose usual bluster-filled rooms worried his necktie, eyes glued to the parched earth. Timmy stood before them, his gaze unreadable. The Professor Sparkle persona was shed, replaced by patched overalls, scrubbed clean. The flamboyant weight gone, he seemed diminished, younger. We're sorry, Timmy," Brenda rasped, the rehearsed words abandoned. This was raw, unexpected remorse. "We were consumed." Barry nodded sharply, bombast dissolved into a nervous tick. "We failed you, son, royally. We only saw the bottom line. We forgot about you." Timmy studied them, searching. He glimpsed something unfamiliar, unvarnished regret. Though diamond rings still flashed on Brenda's fingers, and the bespoke suit clung to Barry's frame, their eyes betrayed a vulnerability that cut through the veneer. He recalled the perfunctory dinners, the dismissive tones, the incessant demand for lucrative inventions. But also, the rare bedtime stories from his mother, the patient help from his father building model planes. These memories, long buried, surfaced now, softened by the years. Mayor Mildred Merriment, rainbow scarf dancing in the breeze, rested a hand on Timmy's shoulder. "They appear genuine, Timmy. The choice, naturally, is yours." Timmy inhaled deeply. Forgiveness wasn't absolution for the past. It was liberation from the bitterness that poisoned him. He met their pleading eyes. I forgive you," he stated, the words flowing with surprising ease. Brenda choked back a sob, tears finally escaping, blurring her makeup. She surged forward, embracing Timmy in a hug both tight and awkward. Barry followed, awkwardly patting his back. "Does this mean you'll come home?" Brenda pleaded, voice thick. Timmy gently eased himself free. "No, Mom, Innovationville is home." He gestured to the colorful buildings, the whirring gadgets, the smiling faces of his friends. "These people, they rely on me, and I on them." Disappointment clouded Brenda's face, quickly chased by a flicker of resentment. Barry, however, seemed to grasp it. He nodded slowly. "Understood. You've built a life here." "But you'll visit?" Brenda persisted, her voice catching. "Please, Timmy, just visit. We can make amends." Timmy smiled, a warm, unfeigned smile that lit his face. "Yes, Mom, I'll visit. Perhaps next month we can reconnect." The limousine glided away, leaving Timmy on the dusty road, Mayor Merriment at his side. He watched the chrome behemoth shrink on the horizon, a stark symbol of the life left behind. He felt neither sorrow nor regret. He felt serene. "They seem changed," Mayor Merriment remarked, eyes twinkling. "They are," Timmy replied, "or at least I hope so." He glanced at the vibrant scene around him. "But my heart belongs here. This is where I belong." He spent the remainder of the day in his workshop, absorbed in a new project, a self-watering system for Mrs. Higgins, whose arthritis made tending her roses agonizing. He lost himself in the hum of gears, the tang of solder, the joy of creating something beneficial. Later, gathered around a bonfire in the town square, Timmy laughed with his friends. He felt a sense of belonging he'd never known, a warmth that permeated his being. He was no longer the isolated, neglected inventor, churning out devices for his parents' enrichment. He was Timmy Tinker, a cherished member of the Innovationville community, valued for who he was, not just what he could invent. As the flames danced and snapped, painting flickering shadows on the faces around him, Timmy gazed at the starlit expanse. He knew his journey was far from complete. There were family visits, a future to shape, problems aplenty to solve. But for the first time, he sensed he was exactly where destiny intended. He was home.